Just making sure I'm not on mute. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for coming to the Dear Dana Show. Waiting for more people to flood in. I am super excited tonight because we have a wonderful human being. You know how I like good humans. I am a little nervous. Don't know why I'm nervous because my show, he's here speaking. I can remember, I know that you all probably think, and I know I've said that Adam actually got me started speaking online, but really, as I think about it, Brian did. Because I spoke on his channel, actually first, sort of teaching online to little kids, and I was terrified. Terrified. He is amazing. He's an amazing human being. He is an author. He has a YouTube channel. He is a podcaster. He has a business. He is a white light parent, which he'll explain later. And he probably has a multitude of other things going. He's very handsome, distinguished, eloquent, kind. I could say a million other things. And he's married. So don't even go there. He has a wonderful wife, 2 daughters. One is in a heavenly plane. One is here. She just graduated. You're really, really going to enjoy him. He has written a book and taken it further called Grief to Growth. Many of us have gone through losses. I know Jenny's lost her husband. I've lost a child. Yes, Jenny says, we like good humans in this community. It's almost a prerequisite to even be here in this community. True? We call this a safe place because I want you to feel better leaving than when you come in. We all know this. And I've been trying to kind of whittle down what the niche is here because it's part psychology, part spirituality, part commentary, part what's going on socially in the world, part reality. But we kind of don't, well, I kind of don't know what to call it yet. I'm not ready to narrow it down. I don't want to be a one-trick pony. But here we are. And I want to say hello to Jenny M. and Shan, Paranormal Witch. I know others will be dropping in. Vintage. Anybody else? And I will announce the total that we, hey, Kim, Taylor from Southern Fried and Gluten Free. I will announce the total that we gathered for the kids in the Bronx. The kids in the Bronx. For the wall that they're painting in the garden out in the Bronx. Yeah. For the butterfly garden, the wall out there, the project that the kids are doing as everyone is slowly coming out of COVID, which is a good thing, but I know there's going to be a lot of psychological ramifications coming out of all of this trauma and psychosocial how do I say it? Psychological bondage we've been in, so to speak. Because there is going to be waves of things that we all are going to have to deal with, especially the kids. You know, they all want to say, well, kids are resilient. They are to a degree, but we overlook the fact that they have to deal with a lot of things that they do not have the words to communicate what they're going through. So that's why they appear to be resilient, right? Oh, you're back as Fields of Grace 101. That's Kim's other channel that you might want to check out. Anyway, they appear resilient only to have stuffed it in somewhere, and later they are dealing with maybe social or emotional issues that affected them that they now have the words to communicate about at a later stage of development. So, anyway, I'm rambling. Let me do my intro, and we'll get back to bringing our guest on. And hopefully, we'll see more people trickle in. Because we know the room gets bigger than this, right? And excuse this hair, Lord have mercy. It's out of control. Couldn't do a thing with it. What you gonna do? Where's Vintage? I don't see. Did I say Vintage? Did I see her? She's not here. Oh, there she is. I thought I said it. Anyway, here is the intro. Here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce the most wonderful Mr. Brian D. Smith.
Hey, Dana.
Brian?
How are you today?
I am so happy to have you here. I have been beyond excited. You would think that you are a movie star.
Well, thanks. Thanks for that very kind introduction.
Well, I mean, it's truthful.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
So, and I know that I haven't gotten to chat with you. Brian and I met in helping parents heal online.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to connect a lot more, but I got crazy busy. He got crazy busy. And Tawana, that's your wife's name, right? Tawana?
Yes, Tawana.
I didn't want to mispronounce it incorrectly. I can butcher her name. We used to all connect a lot more. And between teaching and Covina, that's what I'm calling it on YouTube, because I don't want to get struck before I get started well. And I'm teaching on 2 different formats, and then I finally got brave enough to do YouTube, and woo, it's more work than they say.
It is, yeah.
And I put myself in YouTube school so I could, wrap my brain around it, all the analytics and stuff like that. So that put another layer on things.
Yeah.
But we haven't really gotten a chance to interact a whole lot. So I felt like I was taking a risk, even going, hey, Brian, would you come on my channel?
Of course. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we have talked about grief on here. It's one of the things that we do look at, because more people than not have come on here. Hey, JC Bear, and talked about that, especially with the pandemic, because there were various forms of grief they were dealing with, or they had lost people. So, be that as it may, I wanted to start with you, Brian, the Brian that you were, because we all know it changes us, prior to losing your daughter. How life kind of looked. I want to start there because I want them to see how you kind of went through the loss and then bloomed another time.
Okay, sure. I'll just start with where my daughter passed and just introduce people to my daughter. Her name is Shayna, Shayna Lane, and she passed away June 15th of 2015, June 24th of 2015. So it's coming up on 6 years. Before Shayna passed, we were living a normal life. I had, as you said, 2 daughters, my wife, Tawana. We were running a business. We have a hair care business called Treasure Locks. We've been running that at that time for about 15 years, I guess. A little bit less than that. So Shayna was a 15-year-old girl. She was very active, played volleyball, played basketball. We were just living kind of our normal lives. And I was, going back a little bit further, I always had a big fear of death. I had a particular fear of death from the time I was a teenager. So I had studied all about the afterlife and everything. So when Shayna passed, I had a pretty good understanding of what the afterlife was like, I think, but I'd never experienced any kind of a loss like that. I mean, nothing close, nothing that would touch that. So it just kind of launches you into a whole new phase of your life when something like that happens.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
So now you get to where Shayna the day of
Hmm.
Shayna passing. Do you want to tell us about that or move past that?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so I was fortunate in the sense that when Shayna passed, I knew Shayna was okay. And for most parents, when something like this happens, you've got to deal with that. Are they okay? Are are they going to be okay? And you want to be with them. I mean, I know for myself, I wanted to be with my daughter because as a parent, your number one job is to protect your kids.
Yeah.
And so when they're, especially when they're juveniles, when they're not even adults yet, and they're somewhere that you can't be, that sense of separation, that sense of loss, even if you know that they're okay, it's still a huge hole in your life. So yeah, at that point, I just I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted to be with her. So that was a dilemma because you're torn between two worlds. I've got my wife and my other daughter that are here, and I've got Shayna on the other side. So you don't feel like you really fit in either place.
And 100% how I was feeling. Like 100%. I mean, I even had to remind myself to breathe. Like literally. I sat there and realized I wasn't breathing
Yeah.
and had to go, oh, breathe. And I even had my husband say, you need to breathe. And I don't even know what that was about, where I wasn't breathing.
Yeah, well, as a parent, I think especially as a mother, you're physically connected to your child. You're literally connected to them at one point by an umbilical cord, but we still have that invisible connection that we have to our child. And when that's ripped away, you literally don't know, how am I going to breathe? How am I going to eat? How do I go on doing these normal day-to-day things? And you have to remind yourself to do all those things. Shower, breathe, eat, sleep, all those things become incredibly difficult, and it just becomes, draining. And I heard someone describe it as like your world goes from color to black and white. I mean, you don't see, you see the world differently. And I remember being out with my wife a few days after Shayna had passed, and we were out driving around, and we were looking at people. And it's like, how is everybody going on with a normal life? How are people acting like the world is still the same? Because for you, the whole world has literally changed, overnight, where you don't even recognize it anymore.
Uh, yeah. I mean, even in that second, I mean, the moment I left the hospital, it felt like everything flipped.
Yeah,
Like a new, like walking into another realm.
yeah,
Literally
yeah,
walking into another realm.
yeah. I remember, I remember the day that Shayna was born. Of course, I remember walking out of the hospital with her, and then the day that she passed, leaving the hospital and getting into my brother's car and leaving her there was just like, and it's interesting because I've done some work since then on my traumas, and I've gone through a lot of different moments. I didn't realize, so one of the most recent sessions I went through, that was such a traumatic moment for me, that flip of walking out of the hospital with a brand new baby and taking care of them, and then walking out of the hospital without them and leaving them behind. It's just like the exact opposite feeling, where, as you said, the whole world, you just look around and it's just different. You don't even recognize where you are.
Yeah, like you walked through a door and you were shipped to a whole different realm.
Hmm.
Not, I mean, like a literally a different realm
Hmm.
that you don't recognize anything.
Yeah.
And I try to explain to people, and it's not a competition, it's not a comparison, so to speak, but I try to explain to people, you know, I was close to my dad, very close,
Hmm.
and I thought that was totally devastating. But the loss of my child was a whole different, completely different experience.
Yeah.
Because I think because they literally are a DNA from you.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and the other thing about that is, again, with a child, it's out of order. It's
yeah,
unexpected. We expect that we're going to live a certain amount of time, and we expect to outlive our parents, and we expect our children to outlive us. So when our children transition before we do, it's just totally out of order. It just totally blows everything up that you think about the world. It just makes the world a very unsafe, unstable place because it's not supposed to be this way.
No, but um, I thank God that some of the people that I found were you and Tawana and that particular group because we tried to go and we did it too early. We tried to go to a local grief group and we did it within 8 weeks, which was insane.
Mm-hmm.
But once we did the celebration of life, and I literally ended up pretty much doing all of it by myself. Um, Once we did that, family and friends sort of fell away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like everyone disappears and goes on with their life, understandably,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it
Right.
anymore. And
Right.
like we've talked about, we want people to say our child's name.
Mm-hmm.
They're still a part of our family.
Yeah, it's awkward for people. It's too painful for them, for other family members. Your friends don't want to quote remind you, so they will try to avoid bringing it up. It just becomes all sorts of awkward. And the thing is, as I've learned from talking to people and helping parents heal, most parents, we want to talk about our kids. We want to keep including them in our lives. We want to, embrace that. But people get very weird about it, and as you said, and everybody experience, not everybody, but almost everybody experiences this. Everybody's around for a week or two, maybe a month, and then people fade away and they go into their own lives, and sometimes even family members will just go away because it's just too awkward and too uncomfortable.
Yeah. Um, but I would try to find online groups, and I'd go in some of those groups, and I would find that some of the mothers and people and stuff wanted to become absorbed in the day they lost a child, or the despair, or that it was, or they would show pictures of their deceased child
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like getting pulled in quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy was so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to run.
Yeah, we went to a group like that not too long after Shayna had passed. It was at a local Catholic church, and I remember walking in, and this was maybe a couple of months after she had passed, and they would just sit there and tell their stories over and over again. Same people coming back year after year. And there was one woman in particular, it had been like 10 years since her daughter had passed. And she was still angry. She was still bitter. She's like, I don't know why God allowed this to happen. It was like it had just happened yesterday. And even though I wasn't at that time ready to recover or ready to heal, I knew I did not want to be living like that in 10 years. So I was like, I'm not coming back to this group. So I was fortunate that I found Helping Parents Heal, where you and I met. That is a totally different view of how we heal from the passing of our child by embracing them, keeping them as part of our lives. We call ourselves Shining Light Parents, which was coined by Suzanne Giesman, who's also a member of the group, and she's a medium. And it's kind of after the Gold Star parents. When parents have children that are killed in combat, they're called Gold Star parents. So shining light parents are people who have lost children, and we talk about it in a dual sense. Our children are shining lights because they are, in the next realm, and we aspire to become shining lights ourselves because we aspire to heal and to influence other people to heal. So it's all about us all getting together and helping to heal each other.
And also, I think more of us than not have had spiritual experiences where we all started comparing notes and realized, and correct me if I'm wrong, realized that we were getting signs from our children
Mm-hmm.
and different forms of communication on a pretty consistent basis.
Yeah, That's a big part of it is recognizing signs from our children, trying to learn to communicate with our children in a different way. But the signs and synchronicities are just like they're just undeniable. And the thing about things like signs and synchronicities, our rational mind will try to talk us out of it. So a coin is just a coin, a feather is just a feather. The fact that the phone rang when I was thinking about someone just a coincidence, or so all these things our rational minds will try to take away from us. The great thing about being with other parents that recognize these signs is it reinforces the feeling that we already have that our children are really trying to communicate with us. And the more that we understand that, the more communications we actually get.
Right. She's asking your daughter's name again,
Shayna,
Shayna, and your
Shayna.
and your daughter that's currently just graduated,
That's Kayla. Mhm.
Kayla. Shayna and Kayla, and let me tell you, both gorgeous, but they could not be because if you could see his wife, and of course he's handsome, there's no way they could not be.
Yeah,
So,
we're very very proud of both of our girls. Shayna was about 5'10". She was a volleyball player, player. Kayla's 6 feet, and Kayla just graduated about a month and a half ago with her master's in mental health counseling.
and the fact she went in counseling, I was not surprised. Let me be honest. When I saw that you showed her degree and what she was studying, so I mean, what a beautiful heart,
That
right?
was inspired by her sister. She had just finished her freshman year of college when Shayna passed, and she wanted to become a physician's assistant, but it was all about, she wanted to make money because she wanted to go in the medical field. And after Shayna passed, she realized that I need to follow my passion, and she's always had a passion for children. So she wants to work with kids. So I'm really proud of her. She changed her major, got her undergrad in psychology with a minor in Spanish, and as I said, just a few weeks ago, got her mental health or her master's in mental health counseling. So
And
she
it's
was
not easy.
no, she's got a tough job. She works with disadvantaged kids that are in foster care. So she's got a really tough job.
Tell her I said kudos because I started out doing some cases, special cases,
Hmm.
of children that were special needs in certain circumstances where they were looking to take these kids out of the families.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I would investigate some of them, the kids were self harming because they were trying to self soothe.
Hmm.
But they were looking at the families as though maybe the families were hurting them. So it was complicated,
Yeah, yeah.
tricky. But I don't know her personally, but I'm proud of her because my background.
Yeah. Well, she you know has worked with disadvantaged people and going into the homes and seeing how some of these kids suffer, and her job is to try to keep them with their parents if possible, but put them in foster care if they need to be. So I'm really really impressed by what she's been able to do, and she's been doing that for 2 years now. She graduated in 2019 with her undergrad, and she got a job right after that. So she's been doing this for a couple of years.
Mm-mm-mm. She ever needs to hit me up to ask any questions or have somebody listen
Yeah,
about what's going on, I'm here.
yeah, I'll let her know that.
And I'm serious about it because
Mhm.
sometimes you just need somebody to vent to about what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, you have interviewed a lot of people by now.
Hmm.
Not only people that have lost kids and their experience with signs, I know you interviewed me about my NDE, but you've interviewed a lot of people that have had NDEs.
Hmm.
A lot of people, I think you've interviewed quite a few people in the medical field
Hmm.
that have
Hmm.
watched people as they're passing
Hmm.
or experienced, some knowledge of what is going on as they're passing, etc. So I'm opening the floor right now to things that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, well, I've been very fortunate. I've interviewed, oh wow, it's over 100 people now. I'm up to episode 130 something. And as you said, it's people from all. It's parents who have had children transition. It's people that have had near-death experiences, mediums. I've had Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, who is a philosopher and a computer scientist, who talks about this idea of idealism, which is a philosophy. I've had PMH Atwater, who's one of the biggest experts in near-death experiences. I've had death doulas. I've had hospice nurses. Um, I've a wide variety of people, healers. Anybody that can really. The whole point. My show is called Grief to Growth, and it's really about taking these terrible things that happen to us and how do they transform us. I interviewed a woman. Her name is Terry Dillion, and she's like 35 years old, and she's diagnosed with ALS. And so we had to do the interview by computer because she can only type with her eyes. She can't speak. But I interviewed her after reading her book, and it's just a phenomenal story of someone who is just totally taking this thing that everybody says, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? Well, ALS, right? So, but she's taken that and she's turned it into a really triumphant story. So it's just what I really want people to understand is that I'm a kind of a rational person. My background's in chemical engineering. And so when people tell me you should just believe something, you should just take it on faith. And my background is also I was a Pentecostal. I was raised in my grandfather's church. So the whole time I was growing up, they were just believe, just believe. I've never been the kind of person just believe. I want to know. And so when Shayna passed, I really started digging into this even deeper than I had before. Like, what do we know about the afterlife? What do we know about who we are and why we're here and where do we go? So I put that into all my episodes.
Oh, you stopped. I didn't
Yeah.
know if you were just pausing.
Yeah. So, I put that, I try to put that into all my episodes. I said that the theme is really to give people confidence, of where we're going. And once we know where we're going, then we can understand where we are because we're here in this place and it's confusing. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do children die? Why do people get cancer? Why did these things happen? It's an age old, it's an eternal question that man's been asking as long as we've been here. And so what I want to do is help people if you can start to understand a little bit of why we're here and what we're going through, it makes it much more bearable. It makes it
Yeah,
it makes it easier to get through and to just really shift our perspective from this thing that happened is like the worst thing that could possibly happen to what good could come out of this? What good could I make from it? What lessons could I learn from this? How can I use this to make myself a better person even?
right. Instead of living life angry and miserable and stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would hate for Noah, for instance, to look at me and be like, Mom, what the heck are you doing with your life?
Hmm.
What you've got left? You
Right.
know, you know,
Right.
you this isn't honoring me. What the heck? So like you did, and you still have your company, but you see this shift you made,
Hmm.
and you're touching so many people now. I mean, aren't you speaking as well to groups?
Well, yeah. I'm speaking to you tonight, and yeah,
Or you,
yeah, I'm speaking to.
duh.
I'm speaking to the IONS conference coming up in September. I'll be doing a presentation there. I'm also leading a workshop of parents who are a conversation of parents who've had children transition. I've spoken at Terry Daniels Afterlife Conference. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll be speaking there again.
And how
And
many people are there?
there'll be a few hundred. I'm not sure
Yeah.
the exact number. So the IANS conference, I've been on podcasts. I do that because I've got my book and I've got my the podcast. So I'm trying to reach as many people as I can. I'm really trying to. It's kind of funny because my grandfather was a minister, as I mentioned, and both of his parents were ministers, and so I feel like it's kind of genetic that I was born to be like a teacher. And I've always wondered, okay, what is this message that I'm supposed to deliver to people? And I realized now in the last couple of years, I know what the message is now. And so I'm really trying to help people understand who they are, why they're here, where they're going. And that's it. It's like, because most of us don't know. We're like, it's like we woke up, from a dream or something. We're like, who am I? What am I doing here? Why is the world like this? And there are answers out there. Sometimes we feel like there aren't any answers, and they really do exist.
I mean, it's kind of like doing this. I said I would never do YouTube. Never.
Hmm.
You remember? You remember when I
Yeah,
came on and I was like, I almost canceled,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
and then I end up on here and I feel vastly different. Now, it's not that I never get nervous, but I feel vastly different about doing it now because is yes, I want it to grow and I want to build it, but at the core of me, I want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to make a difference. That's why I haven't been able to hone in on what to call this.
Mm-hmm.
Initially I wanted people to call in with the problems and help them that way. Well, this had another idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what it turned into.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes in life we just have to go where it leads us. So for me, it's been almost 6 years since Shana passed, and for 4 years I was working with Helping Parents Heal. I still do. I'm on the board with Helping Parents Heal, but I was leading the online group. And a couple of years ago, that kind of started to slow down. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? So, um, I'm kind of a technical person, so I said, let's do a podcast. I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen, but just put out a podcast. And so I did the pod. I'm doing the podcast, and natural outgrowth of that is, of course, the YouTube channel. And if we just reach one person, that's all that matters. It's not a matter of getting a big audience. And I get people that are, I've got people that are dedicated followers now, for lack of a better word, that really, look forward to episodes coming out, and are supporting the show. And it's a really gratifying feeling. We all at our core, we want to make a difference. We want to feel like we're making a difference. Now, the thing is, most people think of that in terms of like career, making a lot of money, things, speaking internationally, whatever. I say you can make a difference wherever you are. If you're a mother staying home with your children, make a difference to your family. If you're someone that's going out earning a living, you're making a difference. You can make a difference by smiling at someone in the grocery
yeah.
store. There are all different kinds of ways we can make a difference, and we learned from the near death experience. It's funny because when people have their life reviews, I remember a story. Someone said, "Well, I have my life review," and they're like, "Well, you left out all my promotions and you left out all my rewards," and they said, "No, that's not what's important. It's really about what we call the small things. It's like, what difference did you make in someone's life? Did you make someone feel better? Did you make someone feel loved? So those are the things that we can do to make a difference." So it doesn't have to be. Sometimes people think, "Oh, I'm not really making a difference because I'm not doing anything big." And there's that word, that big. That's the way we define it from a human perspective. But from a soul perspective, we can make differences in a lot more ways than we realize.
True. And when I had my NDE at 12, I didn't have some big life review because I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
I got shown a lot of, got to see what my mom was doing, where my dad was, visions of my brothers, of the, whole greenery around things, where you could play and things like that before I got to see bigger things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but the whole thing of it was, I know now if I had not had that, I don't know if I could have survived what happened to Noah the way I did.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to reach out and help people that are really struggling with loss in a different way now
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And it helps me to help people in a more healing way because that experience when I was 12 changed me on a soul level
Mm-hmm.
more than I realized.
Yeah. Yeah. My theory is, I think we all get what we need in life. It's like the old song. We can't always get what we want, but we can get what we need. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get jealous, like this person is this and this person is that, especially when it comes to spiritual experiences. And I've interviewed people that have had incredible spiritual experiences. Just eyes open and they see into heaven. That kind of stuff. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I don't have anything like that. But I think for myself, I think we get what we need. And as we look back through life, because life you could really only make sense when we look backwards, and we can see all the steps that led us to where we are today. And we know that if any of those steps hadn't happened, we wouldn't be where we are. So we can then start to have gratitude for those things that happened, even though they may be something that we didn't feel like we should have gratitude for. And once we start practicing that, then hopefully we get to the point where we can start having gratitude even in the moment. So when we look at something that's happening to us right now, we can say, I don't know how this makes sense. I don't know how this is going to benefit me, but I have faith that it will because everything that's happened in my past has benefited me. So why would this be an exception? And that's the key to really starting to learn to live in the moment and accepting whatever it is
Yeah.
that's going on.
And it's funny. I mean, there's a group of us, and you sort of connect to certain people, and we're all online, and it's at a distance for the most part. And you and Tawana, and I knew you first. I gravitated to you both the most
Hmm.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I mean, on a gut heart level.
Yeah, I think that's an intuitive thing. I mean, we gravitate to certain people, and I think people come into our lives that are meant to come into our lives. And someone you're a very intuitive person, so some people can kind of grasp onto that. It's like this person is here; they're supposed to be here in my life right now. And when I think about the things that led me to helping parents heal, and the things that I'm doing now, because I'm involved in a lot of stuff, but it's just kind of like the path just starts to open up in front of you, and then someone will call you and say, "Oh, I was inspired to call you. I've got a person right now that's been sending guests to me because she heard my podcast and she felt an attraction to helping me out, so she's sending me guests." And this is the person that connected me with Ions, so that's why I'm speaking at the Ions conference. So these things just kind of open up, and we're led to people, and people are led to us.
I don't know if you ever um, felt that from me, though, that I felt that way.
Uh, no, not particularly. I didn't know that. No. Yeah,
But you
that's
know it
good.
now.
Yeah, and I think it's very cool, and I feel honored when someone tells me that. I've had people that have reached out to me and said, I feel, and I think everybody is there for somebody else. I think it's all planned out. It's amazing to me, and again, I'm a rational person. I'm an engineer, and so I've always thought the universe is kind of a deterministic, mechanistic place. Things just happen, and there's chance, and there's this. And the older I get and the more I study this, the more I realize there is a plan, and there's a divine plan, if you want to use the word divine, but there's a plan. And this is not my just speculation. This is what people that have had near death experiences come back and tell us, that no matter how chaotic things look, it's all under control. And it's hard to believe when we're sitting here from a human perspective, because we don't have the big picture. And that's why I say it's really important to look back on your life, and you can start to understand things. And then when people have their NDEs, they're like, "Oh, now I understand everything.
Yeah.
Now I understand why that happened when I was 12. Now I understand why that happened then. That's now I understand why there is the stuff in the world that doesn't make any sense to me."
When I was young, I would like see when you study biology and you study cells and you study this and that and the other.
Hmm.
And I was more of a nerd in some ways. And I would see the shapes of things and how things go together, and how this cell would build to this, and you look under a microscope and everything was so beautiful, right?
Hmm.
And I would tell my brothers, you know, there is this big. This was even before the NDE.
Hmm.
There is this big creator. Look at how beautiful everything is. There is this big science. That's what I kept calling it, a big science,
Yeah.
because look at all these patterns. There's no way everything fits together,
Yeah.
right? And then after the NDE, you're like, oh, absolutely, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I went through when I was coming out of my Christian phase, when I was taught about creation and stuff, and then I started becoming more rational. And then, there's evolution and things just kind of happened, and it's all random. But it's so counterintuitive because when you just looking at nature, I live in Ohio. Right now, we're having our cicada invasion, and people here are freaked out by the cicadas because they're nasty and they're loud and they're bumping into everything. But I'm like, these creatures live underground for 17 years, and then they come up and they mate and they fly around for 6 weeks, and they have their larvae. The larvae drop down to the ground and they go under for 17 years. It's like, that's a miracle. Everything. I think it was Einstein said you have to, when you look at the world, either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And the
Right.
more you start to really look at things, you realize it's a miracle that any of us are here. It's a miracle. We talk about our bodies and we talk about illness, but you look at all the things that could possibly go wrong with your body. It's a miracle that it even functions. And I'm again being an engineer. There are all these little chemical factories in our bodies, our kidneys, our liver, our stomach, our all these things are doing all these interactions, cells that are operating on their own without any input from us. It's fascinating, and it's so extremely complex that there's no way that it's an accident.
And how everything sort of has to work like a robot for things to go smoothly. And
Yeah,
if there's one little kink in something, it's like there's a jack in the gear.
yeah, yeah. The chemical balances that we have, again within our bodies, and then you look outside of that. I remember reading a book many years ago by a guy he was making a case for a creator, which is really interesting. But the constants in the universe, how they're so finely tuned, and when you look at the chance of the universe even existing, it's like one in an incalculable number. Because if the power of gravity was off by a little bit, then the universe would either fly apart or it would all collapse together. It's just perfectly balanced to have the systems that we have, and that's just one example out of thousands or millions. So it's an incredible magical world that we live in, and we've lost that. We've lost sight of that because we've said, okay, oh, it just happened by accident, and I'm just here. I'm just a biological robot, and I'm born. I'm going to die, and my life has no meaning. And that is a terrible message, and that's what causes people to be depressed. That's what causes people to feel lost. And it's
And that
so wonderful when you can open up and understand, the majesty that we live in.
and that's what causes a lot of people too to go, oh, so much darkness
Hmm.
when they think that there's nothing more, and they're going, well, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal and do as much chaos and havoc as I can because what the heck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, that's a way a lot of sociopaths think.
yeah, exactly.
One that I've heard of most recently, um, that hurts children, thinks there's nothing more, so he's just going to keep on doing his thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I said, it's just the understanding that first of all, there's something more. The other thing is that we're all one. Another lesson from NDEs that there is no separateness. We are all part of the same greater whole. And when you harm somebody else, you're actually harming yourself. But we've got this idea that we're separate, and my gain is your loss, and vice versa, as opposed to trying to do the greatest thing for the most number of people. So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the biggest reasons for all the pain in the world is because everybody's out to get for themselves, as
Right.
opposed to trying to get for everybody, get for each other.
I don't know. You probably haven't experienced it. I have a little bit, but I started out guessing a little bit on some reality TV, YouTube.
Mm.
But if you look in the YouTube streets, some of the YouTubers try to take others down.
Hmm.
Have
Hmm.
you seen that?
Yeah, well, not just they're everywhere. Yeah, but yeah,
Have you experienced that?
I've experienced. Yes, I actually have.
Oh
I've had
my,
someone come after me. I work with a lot of mediums who are highly spiritually developed people. Supposedly, I've seen a lot of backbiting in that community. You see it among pastors, people that are supposedly in the church. It's just kind of human nature when
that is
again
sad.
we forget who we are. The jealousy. Yeah, I had someone saying terrible things about me. I just found out about recently. I didn't even know that this person knew I existed. So it's interesting to think that they were coming after me. But you know, that's a very limited point of view. That's a misunderstanding of who we all are, and we all have a role to play. We all have a role to play, and we all fit into the big picture.
That's what I meant about, like, when I talk in here, if I can lift somebody up, if they're on another channel, if they're doing something in the community, whatever.
Hmm.
My theory is lift everybody up. If you're
Yeah.
trying to do good, lift everybody up. There is room for everybody. I would like to see as much positivity going out as possible.
Hmm.
Please, please, let's change the narrative in our world because everybody wants to blast out all the negative crap. I mean, of course, we have to tell people what's going on, right? But we don't have to, much like those groups you and I got caught up in for a half second, we don't have to dwell in the low resonancy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely true. And the thing is, as you said, there's a mentality of this world is it's like it's a scarcity mentality. There's only enough for a few of us. So I'm going to get all I can get, and if I can take something from you, then it's more for me. And we view that with lots of things. And one of the things I learned early on when I was going into this is like if you put your material out there, if you put it, there's going to be somebody that's going to resonate with you for who you are, and they're not going to resonate so much with other people, even though it might be a similar message. So there's no point in us fighting over stuff. The people that are supposed to follow you, the people that want to follow you, are going to follow you, and the people that want to follow that other person, then let them follow that other person. Truth is truth, no matter where anybody gets it. We should not be competing to spread that.
No,
And it just, to me, it goes to show the people that are doing that are in this for the wrong reason. They're not in it to help people; they're in it to build themselves up. I completely agree. I bring other podcasters on my show, and I'm glad to bring other podcasters to my show and to promote their podcasts, because I think we're all there to lift each other up.
well, I mean, if your energy is high and you resonate high, you're bringing healing.
Hmm.
Even if you say nothing, you're bringing healing to everybody that encounters you. That's nothing but good.
Yeah, yeah. That should be the goal if you're doing this, as I said. So it's interesting because people event they'll show who they are, and eventually people will see who they really are. So for those of us that are doing this work, just keep doing the work and let them do what they're going to do.
I've been blowing wind up your skirt all week, so I don't know if you could feel it from where you were, but yeah,
Thanks, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I do.
just so you know,
Yeah,
because you're a good human. That's what I want around me. I want good humans.
thanks. That's that should be, well, I keep using the word should. I don't like to use the word should. The thing is, for me, that's the purpose for being here. There's a James Taylor song I love, and the title of the song is "That's Why I'm Here." And it's all about people he's helping people, and like that's what I want to do. I feel like that's my mission for being here, is to try to help people, and to take the trials and tribulations that I've been through, and to take those lessons and teach them to other people, so that hopefully maybe they don't have to go through them, or at least they can understand them and have some compassion. um, and when I work with my clients, one of the things that gives me credibility is the fact that I have gone through what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so I take what happened with Shayna, and I'm grateful for it in the sense that it's given me compassion, it's given me understanding, and it's put me on a path where I'm trying to do something good in the world. And you mentioned earlier, like what Noah would want, he wouldn't want you to be sad. I look at my daughter, I know I'm going to face her one day, and you talk about being judged. I view myself being judged by her,
Yeah.
and I don't want her saying, what did you do? Okay. Why did you waste the rest of your life? I want her to say, I'm really proud of what you did. And this was the plan. And, you executed the plan, and it's not easy. I don't always feel like doing it. But there's been times I really, really have not felt like doing it. But it's part of being human. It's part of the earth experience. We come to earth to have these challenges. So when people say, why is there pain, it's like, that's part of the plan. you know the challenges are part of the plan of being on planet earth. This is not the easy place to be. We don't You don't come here, well, some people do. Some people come here to skate by, but some of us don't. Some of us come here because we want to test ourselves, we want to challenge ourselves.
I mean, I feel like Earth is school,
Yes. Hmm.
and I don't believe that we can experience love here without the pain.
Hmm.
We wouldn't recognize it, first of all, because there would be no comparison. If all you experience is happy, happy, love, love, joy, joy, you would not know what that is because you would not have the opposite to compare it to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because people say that, and I don't think most people can really understand that concept because they say, "Oh yeah, I could live without pain." But why I put it to people is like, okay, if everything was absolutely perfect, if I were never any conflict in my life, and I had everything I wanted all the time when I wanted it, then I would have no concept of myself because everything or other because everything would be me. I could never even have another person in my life that ever disagreed with me because that would cause me quote pain. So there has to be some sense of separation, some sense of things not being perfect for us really to experience anything. So then it just becomes a matter of degrees. And so we say, well, there shouldn't be this much pain. There could be some pain, but not this much. But when you think about it, and I always have to use analogies because you can't really speak to these things directly. But I look at like a little kid, a toddler, and they fall and they skin their knee. And as a parent, we look at them and we kind of smile because we know it's just a skin knee, but they're just going crazy.
Yeah,
They're crying like they broke their leg. Or
yeah,
you tell them, no, you can't have ice cream for breakfast. You can have ice cream after dinner. And they're like, you're so unfair. You're so mean. It's the end of the world. And we as the parents sit back and we empathize with them, but we know it's not that big of a deal. It's not that bad. You're going to be okay. When we're in the earth world and we look at the things that are going on, we say these are unbearable, these are unfair. No loving creator would ever create this. No soul would ever choose this. I would never choose this because this is just too bad. But whatever the level of pain was, we would say that. It doesn't matter what it is. We would always say that because we have nothing else to compare it to.
right,
But there are limits. There are limits to the pain. We only live a certain amount of time. There's only so much pain that we can bear. So there are limits to it. So I believe that it was really designed this way. And I believe we come here and you mentioned the term school. I think of it as a gym. I think of it as an obstacle course. I mean, if you're designing an obstacle course, you have to have obstacles. You don't have an obstacle course where you just run to the finish line. So it's an obstacle course. We put these things in our path to overcome them to make ourselves stronger.
right. And think about it this way too. If we did not have pain or obstacles or disease or whatever it is, we would not make the effort to be creators
Right, right,
in any form or fashion,
right. Exactly.
to create medications, to create new technology, anything,
Hmm.
to create solutions.
Right. Yeah, you can't create a solution without a problem. And it would never give anybody a chance to exercise compassion. If nobody ever had a lack, if nobody was ever, at a disadvantage or harmed, I could never show them compassion. So that there has to be that need for us to fill. And you made an excellent point about creativity. We create because there's something lacking. We create because there's a need for something. So that's what drives our creativity, and we are ultimately creators. I think everybody is in a certain sense. We like to make things, whether it doesn't have to be artistic, it doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be, again, it could be raising your child. It could be just earning a living. It could be there's lots of things that we can create that we do that give us fulfillment.
And to be honest with you, if I don't have something that, not that I wanted to lose my child, but like on the flip side of it, I look at the challenges Noah went through and try to project into the future.
Hmm.
And I think, would it have been selfish if I just wanted to keep him here for me, right?
Hmm.
So there's that. But by the same token, I look at my life along the lines of what you're saying. I'm happier when there's something for me to figure out,
Yeah.
when there's a problem for me to solve, when there's a person for me to help. I'm happier even in the loss of Noah. It kept me sustainable, teaching or helping others.
Hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. I mean, I just think of like a little thing. My toilet broke a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to figure out what was wrong with it, order the part, and put the part in, and fix it myself. And it was like it's just like a little thing that gave me a sense of accomplishment, you know. And my lawnmower broke, you know, and I fixed that. So those little things, and those little things we can use as analogies for the big things, because we think from a human perspective. I would never choose for my child to, and I'm going to use the word die, even though I don't use that
No,
word.
I
I
hate
would
that word.
never choose for my child to die, because of course you wouldn't. But from a soul perspective, when you look at the big picture and you go, but you're going to blossom in those next 20 years. You're going to become something you never even imagined you could become. And by the way, your child didn't die. Your child is just fine. They're sitting there right next to you, and you're going to see them again. So it's there's no loss is permanent. There's no loss is permanent. Everything is restored. So if you as a soul know that, then you say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go through that, um, for my growth, for the challenge. My daughter and I love to play video games. Shane and I love, so when you're designing a video game as a designer, if you make the game too easy, then nobody plays it because it's boring. It's like
Right.
you just boop boop, it's over. Nobody's going to play it. If you make it too hard, no one's going to play it because they're going to give up and quit and be frustrated. There's always this sweet spot, this balance that you have to do. So when you finish a level, you're like, man, I can't believe I finished that. And those are the games that people keep coming back to over and again. That's Earth. Earth is like that game, that challenge you feel like you cannot overcome. But you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And when you do overcome it, then you get that sense of,
I want
wow, that was
more.
incredible.
What's next? Can I do that?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. A lot of times it's like, what's next?
Yeah. You know what? I feel that this is just really weird. I'm sitting here and I feel I'm not by myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
I haven't had that experience during a podcast. I mean, during a live YouTube. Um, I don't know, ever maybe
Hmm.
till now.
Yeah, our kids are with us. I was telling someone the other day, there was a meme on Facebook. It was a joke about like how I talk to myself. I talk to myself and we laugh and blah blah blah. And I said that my response to it was, once you know who you truly are, you're never alone. And usually when I do my podcast, because we're in StreamYard, I couldn't put my normal background up. But when I do my podcast, I have Shayna in my background.
Yeah,
Shayna's always over my shoulder. And that's a reminder to myself and to my guests and to honor Shayna that that's the reason why I do this. So when I'm talking, I've got Shayna here with me, I've got my guides here with me, I've got my ancestors here with me, and a lot of times I'll say things and it's like, wow, that was pretty cool, because it's not coming from me. Um,
yeah.
and I get that feeling, more and more that I'm never alone. We are never alone. We appear to be individuals, but we're not individuals. We are all part of soul groups, teams. We've got people in spirit that are cheering for us. We've got other people here on earth that are part of our teams. So we're never really alone. We're never truly alone, even though sometimes we feel that way.
I've tried to explain to them in my experience, and I said, you can believe me, you cannot believe. I'm cool with it. I know my experience,
Hmm.
and I'm fine if people don't believe me. I would like for you to because it's my truth, you know.
Hmm.
But it's like the car. You get in a car, and you're navigating that car.
Hmm.
The skin, the skin body, eventually it's gonna wear out like the car does,
Hmm.
and you're gonna be left with the soul.
Hmm.
So this skin is like that car. It's navigating you around.
Yeah. The term I've been using lately is avatar. And if anybody's ever seen the movie Avatar,
I know, honey, but we got YouTube streets. We got this whole Avatar drama going on, and I think people don't want to talk about the Avatar.
well, I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
the word I like, because this body is not me. It's just a representative of me. It's just,
it's
and
just
it's interesting because we'll talk about the consciousness being inside the body and the consciousness being generated by the brain. And actually, it's the opposite. The body is inside our consciousness. So consciousness is the reality. Consciousness is everything. And this
yeah,
material world sits on top of that consciousness. It's a projection of that. And we project our consciousness into these bodies. So, so going back to your point, no one ever dies. The avatar just stops functioning.
Yeah.
And when we look at a body and we say, "Oh, it's so bad that person died," it'd be like looking at a cocoon after the butterfly has come out of it, and
Oh, good.
saying that look, they're dead because it's just an empty cocoon. It's like, no, they're like, I'm over here, I'm flying around, I'm a butterfly.
You know what's funny? Uh, the regular people that come to my channel, now we have a lot of people that watch this channel that don't actually come in the chat. They just, stay underground.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you see them when you get off. Hey, everybody. But anyway, the regulars that come in here refer to themselves as butterflies.
No, okay, cool. Yeah.
So it was funny and appropriate that you just said that.
Yeah, it's an analogy that everybody uses, and I love the analogy. And again, nature, Swedenborg talks about this. Everything in nature is a correspondence to what happens in the spirit world. So the butterfly is an analogy we all can understand. We see a caterpillar, we see a cocoon, we see a butterfly. Now, what I realized, this is just pretty recently, when the caterpillar crawls into the cocoon, the first thing it does is it basically throws up on itself. And there's digestive the enzymes in the caterpillar digest the caterpillar's body. So at one point, it's literally nothing but like soup. It's just goo, and it's inside the cocoon. That's what it's like when we're shattered, when we're in grief. We're like that. We're like that mess. We feel like we're just totally lost. We are not formed, but then we reform into something very different. We reform into something that's not even recognizable. So I have a lot of people say to me, "Will I ever be the same? Will I ever get over this? Will I ever go back to the old me?" And I'm like, I don't think so, and I don't think you want to. The idea of this is to transform. The idea in this is to become something different than where you were before, to become something better than you were before. And a lot of us that have been through this, we can look back and say, I don't really recognize the person I was before this. I'm doing things that are totally different. I have a totally different outlook on life. It's transforming.
My mom said to me, we had a discussion, and, you know, sometimes we push each other's buttons.
Hmm.
That's saying it mildly
Hmm.
because we're like vastly different. I'm easygoing for the most part. Um, she's not. Anyway, she said something to the effect of, "You changed since Noah died." I don't like that word either.
Hmm.
And I said, "Yep, you're right. I absolutely have."
Yeah, good. That's a good thing.
I said, "I no dispute here."
Yeah, and that's another interesting dynamic. Family always wants to keep us the same as we were. They want you to be the person you were when you were six. My mother still says to me, when you're 16 years old, this is what you. And it's like, hopefully you're not the same person that you were, and hopefully you're not the same person you were before Noah transition. Otherwise, you just wasted the lesson.
Yeah.
You will become something different. And for those people that try to hold you back, we just have to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am now.
I mean, in some ways, I think it made me braver
Hmm.
than I would have been before in a crazy way.
Yeah, what I
As
say is it doesn't. I don't. I'm torn between, does it make us braver or does it expose the bravery we already have? Because the thing is, most of us are a lot more brave and resilient and strong than we realize. And when I'm working with clients, one of the things that I'm doing with them is just like showing. I'd say it's like putting up a mirror. They can't see how incredible they are. So my job is to reflect back to them how incredible they are. That bravery was always inside of you. We are powerful creatures beyond what we can imagine, and these events that happen to us reveal it. They reveal what's inside of us.
yeah, that's an excellent point. Oh, and by the way, I still get signs in various ways. Most of them are at appropriate times.
Hmm.
It could be a birthday, it could be anniversary, it could be when she graduated, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're out of the blue. Um, Sometimes some time can pass, but
Hmm.
it was probably, I don't know, a couple of months or so ago. One of his toys went off that didn't have batteries,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it wasn't programmed to say this. It said, "Hey, I can fly."
Oh, wow. Wow.
Not programmed to say it. No
Wow.
batteries.
Wow. Yeah.
And Stephen was like, "Did you hear that?" And it went off again and said, "Hey, I can fly."
Oh, wow.
And we were like, "Okay, we're not shocked anymore
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when we hear things like that." And I was trying to explain to them, I had found, well, particularly for him, he had problem with speech
Yeah.
because his throat was affected. And we had toys that would speak, or like a little thing that had messages. And they are able to manipulate electricity sometimes a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
because we are water and electricity. And I try to break it down to folks, it's not woo woo, it's spirituality and science.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are electrical current, we are water and cells, and you know, if you pick this up, it's got atoms and neutrons, and everything's science.
Yeah.
And you add spirituality to it, things aren't woo woo, people. You have to really look at it.
Yeah, what I explain to people is the supernatural, what we call the supernatural is just things that we don't understand yet. There is no supernatural. There's no division between supernatural and natural. It's all natural. It's all consciousness, which we're starting to understand. Scientists
Yeah,
it's finally starting to come around to that. It's all consciousness. And then what we call the material world, as someone said, it's just like frozen light. It's things that are slowed down. But when we look at things that are material, like you point out an object, this object is 99.99995 nothing.
yeah,
They say if you took a model of an atom and you had the nucleus, I live in Cincinnati, the nearest electron would be like 20 miles away in Dayton. That's how much space there is, in an atom. So what we perceive to be reality is really kind of a projection, and spirit can manipulate that, of course, because it's all energy. Now, a lot of times, spirit comes across in this realm, in this physical realm, very, very subtle.
yeah,
So, spirit normally can't make gross, big movements, but it's small things. But there's just so much evidence for it. Instrumental transcommunications. I know people that do EVPs that get voices on tape, on recordings. Um, so it's not woo. It's all science. It's just science that we don't understand yet. And if you think about it, if you went to someone 200 years ago, you had a time machine, and you said, "We are one day going to have technology where you can sit in front of a screen and project your image across
yeah,
the world instantaneously, with sound and image," they would say that's impossible. And no wires, by the way. We're gonna do it just through the air. They would say, well, that's impossible. So when you hear about, like, the things about heaven, I think about people. Swedenborg talks about heaven, like thought brings proximity. If you just think about somebody, they're there. And I'm like, well, that's kind of like the internet right now.
yep.
I could just think about Dana, and I can hit Facebook, and I can get Dana on my screen. So it's just another step beyond that. So the stuff that people call woo woo is just, like I said, it's things we don't understand yet. In science, the double slit experiment, which a lot of people know about, where they look at the electrons and they say, is it a particle or is it a wave? And it's like, it depends. If you're observing it, it's a particle. If you're not observing it, it acts like a wave. Well, that doesn't make any sense from a scientific point of view, because we don't think consciousness affects material things. But this experiment's been done many, many ways over and over again. And by the way, it could also go backwards in time, which they don't understand. So there's so much more out there than we have any idea about. So don't we should never let anybody put us down and say what you believe is woo woo. It's not, because science is finally starting to come around to some of these ideas and starting to say, yeah, this universe, it seems like a computer simulation. It seems like a hologram. It doesn't seem like it's the ultimate reality. And by the way, there's no such thing as time. It just looks like it, and we don't know why it flows forward but not backwards, because there's no laws of physics that say it shouldn't flow both ways. So all these things that we just don't understand from a materialistic perspective. But if we open up the spirit, then we can start to see how it makes some sense.
I mean, look at quantum healing and energy healing and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Things that I was able to learn about and start doing. We did a little bit of that on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
with someone in the chat that was suffering from bad toothache
Mm-hmm.
and worked at a distance, and she was able to get some relief.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, can't explain that, but this is quantum healing. Is they've proved some of it scientifically.
Yeah.
And have you heard of the rice experiment?
Which one is that?
I can't say his last name. Doctor, it's an Asian name. I can't say it right now without looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you cook rice, put it in two containers sealed, and on one of them you put hate, and the other one you put love.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, you could do it for a week or so, you pick up the one that says hate, and everything that you're irritated about, you think about or say holding the one that says hate.
Mm-hmm.
Put it down. I would do the love first. And then pick up the love one, and everything you love or like to do, you talk about it to the loved one. I love my family. I love my dog. You know, go on and on for a few minutes, put it
Mm-hmm.
down. And after about a week, the one that says love will probably still look white. The one that says hate is starting to rot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, people are doing it over and over. You can do it with plants as well.
Yeah, and there's one the guys did it with water, and the water does different things, and but there's also been there's been the psi phenomenon has been studied over and over again, where people, like they'll show people pictures, and before they show the picture, they'll have a response, whether it's a pleasant or unpleasant picture, and they're like, well, this shouldn't happen. They should not be able to anticipate whether it's going to be a pleasant or an unpleasant picture. Remote viewing was studied by our government for years, and they
Yep,
know it's real. So all these things that
I know
show
it's real.
yeah,
Yep.
that shows that consciousness is not local. There is, and this is why I love doing my show, because I want to tell people there is so much evidence out there. Don't let anyone tell you that there's no reason to believe this, because, as I said, even the government knows it. The government's done all kinds of experiments with whether we can use mind control or not, or whether we can spy on the Russians from within a bunker here in the United States and have people draw what's going on, over there. Um, it's not woo. It's just understanding that consciousness, kind of like radio waves, as I was saying earlier. Radio waves would be woo woo to somebody before they realize they're radio waves. We don't know how thought works, so maybe there are thought waves that we just haven't been able to measure yet.
We were talking about basically when we need to resonate higher, we have to think about it as if we are all radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you are station 900.005, you know, or 975, or, we just need to crank it up to a certain level
Mm-hmm.
so that people or things that are leveled up, so to speak, that will be in our life
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not so much of the negative ish stuff.
Right, right. And using that analogy, when people transition, they transition to a different frequency. So one of the things kind of irks me is when people call it non-physical or non-material. I don't think it's non-physical or non-material. It's just it's operating at a different frequency than we are.
Yeah,
So if you're listening to a radio station at 92.5, 94.9 still exists. You just can't hear it because you're not tuned into it. And I
right.
think I think it's kind of like here. I think there are all these we overlap, for lack of a better word, because there is no space there, but we overlap in terms of like it's not somewhere else. It's just a different frequency that we're not turned into.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like a dog whistle.
Yeah, yeah,
We cannot hear a dog whistle because it resonates so much higher,
hmm
but the dogs can hear it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you about, not to flip so hard, but some of the signs that you've gotten from your daughter.
Oh wow. Well, there's the things like feathers and coins and birds and butterflies, acting unusual. There's things like I remember one time I was out walking and I listened to my iPhone when I'm walking, listening to music, and it stopped, and then I turned it back on, walked a little bit lower, it stopped again, and I'm like, "Is this Shayna?" So I was headed back home and just about to cross the street, and I said, "If this is you, make it stop right now." And it stopped again, right at that moment. Um, there's a ceiling fan in our bedroom that Shayna would turn on So it's operated by remote control, but it would just come on by itself. And sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes when we're there, different things like that. Shayna tends to break things. I remember one time my computer stopped working for a few days, and I called the guy that repairs it, and he goes, "I think you're going to need a new computer because we couldn't figure out what was going on. The hard drive was just acting all wonky." And right before I was going to get it repaired, it just started working again. And the reason why I say that was a sign is like a week later, I was talking to a medium. And she said, "Shayna says she messes with your computer." And I said, "Well, tell Shayna to stop breaking things because I almost had to get a new computer." So just it's stuff like that. It's things like I remember like on her angel date last year, I was taking my wife to therapy because she'd had knee replacement, and it was Shayna's angel date, and I was having a rough day, and I looked up and the license plate in front of me. I can't remember what the license plate said now, but the license plate was a very specific message. I can't remember exactly what it said, but in the sticker on the back window, it was the state of Ohio, which is where we live, and it was home, and so it was like it was like Shayna telling me she was home. So stuff like that, and it's just the thing about signs is they can be, as long as you keep your eyes open to them, they can come in so many different ways. It's people that she sends into our life. We have a friend or woman that we know, Suzanne Geisman. She's a medium, and Shayna will drop in on her. And so, like one time, Suzanne called up and Shayna had gotten this thing. It's called a Happy Thought Bubble. They gave it to us after she passed. It's this glass like Christmas ornament. And Suzanne called and said, Shayna's dropped in on me. She had a message. She said, "Is there a crack in that bubble?" And we're like, "No, there's no crack in the bubble." So we pulled it down, and right on top of it, there was like a hairline crack, which we'd never noticed before. Suzanne had never seen this thing. So stuff like that. And I can't even remember all the signs we've gotten over the years, but um, it's been crazy stuff. People coming into our lives, um, just at the right time. Um, the synchronicities of, like I said, meeting different people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been she likes to manipulate electronics a lot. Like I said, with my phone, with the ceiling fan in the bedroom, things with the computer. She's messed with the electricity in the kitchen because I had an outlet that was like it would not. It was a GFI and it kept going off and it wouldn't stay on. So I was just about to get it replaced. I was going to call an electrician and I said, I'm going to try it one more time before I got to buy the replacement and call the electrician. And I tried it one more time and it came on. That's been like 2 or 3 years ago and it's never gone off again. And usually when those go off, they're either off or they're on. Um, so it's been something. I've got most of them written down on my blog. So one day I need to go back and go through all of them because you tend to forget them over time. The specifics. You know, songs. There was a song that we played at her service, and so it's a song that she knows reminds us of her. So that'll come up at on certain occasions.
And the number of feathers that I used to see that you would find like all the time, every time you take a walk.
Yeah, it's funny because I haven't found too many feathers lately, and I was just thinking about that a few weeks ago. And of course, the next day I found a feather. And we had a thing. One of the things when Shayna passed, I said, "Okay, our thing's not going to be pennies; it's going to be dimes. So if I find a dime, I'll take it as a time for you." So I'll be walking in the street, and I'll just find dimes laying in the street. I don't know why there'd be a dime laying in the street, but I find them. But one day, this is let's see, she had been about 3 months, 2 months after she had passed. We were on vacation, the three of us. So we're like, let's do something to kind of reestablish the family as the three of us. So we went up to the lake near us and we were staying in a hotel. I got up early that morning. I walk every day. So I got up to walk and I was having a really bad day. And I said, Shane, I'd like to get a sign from you today. And so we were getting in a van, to catch the ferry to go across to the island. And my wife and Kayla get in the second seat of the van. There's a third seat. And I could have sat in the second seat, but I decided to sit in the back. So I went to get in the back and as I bent my head down, and looked under the seat. There was a single dime sitting there under the seat. Um, on the day that I had said, I need a sign from you, and then we'd established that the dime was going to be our sign. So that was pretty early on. Now I have to say, it's funny because the coins and the feathers have slowed way down, and the message I'm getting is like we don't need that anymore. We're kind of past the coins and the feather things. So I don't look for them as much anymore because I feel like I have a constant communication with her.
Yeah,
So it's more now. It's more like dream visits. It's more like I get downloads. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I've got a download of this. You need to do this. You need to do this, or you need to call that person. Stuff like that.
that's great. Yeah, I'm expecting. Used to it was like rapid after, and I don't know why it was almost immediate after I
Hmm.
first lost Noah, and now it's like certain occasions or if I'm sick, or, things like that.
Yeah,
And occasionally it might be random, and now there's gaps. It's more special occasions or if
yeah.
something's happened.
I think. I mean, this is just my thinking because I've heard a lot of people say the signs slow down. I think it comes back to we get what we need.
Yeah,
And early on, when we have that really big sense of loss, and we just really need to know they're there, I think they're giving us more of that type of stuff. In my particular case, as I said, I feel like it's just not. We don't need that anymore because we communicate on pretty much a day. Well, not pretty much. We communicate on a daily basis.
yeah.
So I don't feel like those are as prominent. They're still pretty cool when they happen. Like I said, that on our angel date last year, that was pretty wild. I really wish I could remember what that license plate said.
I remember you taking the picture of it. I
Yeah,
mean, I even got excited when I saw it. I mean, I almost want to say that it said "I am home" or
yeah. It said I am something. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up now. It's on my blog. But yeah, it's like I said. There is there's no doubt to me that they are still with us and they still love us. They still care about us. I've had some incredible medium readings, which I also take as signs because they'll tell me things that have happened, or like I said with the computer. Like I was talking to this medium, she had no idea who I was, and I didn't tell her about the computer, and she goes, "Oh yeah, Shane says she messes with your computer." Um, and then this was really wild. So our shower stall, I was in bed one night and our shower stall just exploded. We have a custom glass shower and it just literally exploded. I mean, it woke me up from a deep sleep. And I put out so anybody figure out what happened in the shower. And I had a friend who's a medium that called up and she pretty much told me exactly what had happened. She's never been to my house. She described the shower stall and she said that she saw Shayna standing in the shower like trying to knock things over, and she was spinning around, and she said she was spinning around and she had her arms out and her head back, and that's when the shower stall exploded. So that was really interesting. But the other thing is, I had a reading with another medium a couple of weeks later, and she said the exact, not about the shower, but she said she saw Shayna standing, spinning around with her arms out and her head back. I thought that was
whoa,
pretty wild.
yeah. I mean, and when it's like they just give you the confirmation that you need.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, for one person to say it, that's like, okay, that's really interesting. For another part, because when she said, I said, "What did you say?" And she said, "Shayna's spinning around with her head," and I'm like, "Wow."
Mm-mm-mm. And I love it when people start to realize there's more than just here.
Hmm.
Like when I had the NDE, I didn't see a person, and I call him it she God.
Hmm.
It was like this amazing, overwhelming creation, light, consciousness, love. You still get the feeling of, right, a
Hmm.
being, but I didn't see a person.
Hmm.
So it's still the most beautiful experience, but you grow up being made to feel like you're going to see a person sitting in a chair, in a grand chair that
Hmm.
you walk over and profess all your
Yeah,
sins to.
yeah.
So much like you, I'm not a religious person anymore. I am a greatly spiritual person that considers herself Christian, so to speak.
Hmm.
But I'm not a religion.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just
I don't even know how to describe myself at this point. I jokingly call it Brianism because I just
that's good.
I think everybody has to have their own unique spirituality, and I draw from Christianity. Some I don't call myself a Christian because of the baggage with that, but I draw from Buddhism. I draw from Hinduism. There's a philosophy called idealism, which is as opposed to materialism. So I call myself an idealist, which is basically just says consciousness is everything. And I believe that there's truth in all these different traditions. There's aspects of the truth in all the different ones. So we have to go and see what resonates with us and take with us what works for us. Um,
I guess I'm pretty much like you, if I had to be honest with you, because I've visited all of this
mhm,
and I adhere to pieces and parts of it.
mhm.
I guess because I know that there is a creator, that's why I label it Christian, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And I'm not religious. I don't know what to call it. So I'm more spiritual.
Yeah, it's funny because I have a friend who's Hindu, and so I just looked into Hinduism a little bit, and some of the words like Brahman, which is the ultimate, everything, and then the Atman, which is us, the individual, and there's like a creation story that is very much what I believe is kind of the way things are. And then when I listened to Dr. Kastrup speak, the guy that's the idealist I was talking about, that's the kind of way he describes the way things came into being. There's this consciousness, and then there's just like excitement in the consciousness, and it forms these ripples, and then become self-reflective, and all these different analogies or allegories that we can use. And so when you look at different religions, they're all kind of saying the same things and just say it in different words that we can understand as human beings, because it's beyond what our brains can grasp. It's like we are the extraction trying to understand the absolute, and it's impossible for us when we talk about, like, people say what happened before creation. Well, before creation there was no time, so before creation is actually an oxymoron. It doesn't make any sense, but we can't imagine anything without time. So it's mind-boggling.
We can't imagine anything without us.
Yeah,
That's the ego, you know?
yeah, yeah.
We think we are the it, the beginning, the end, the whatever.
Well, in a way, we are, though, because in a way, the analogy that works for me. This is where my understanding is now, is that when people say that I am God, and that sounds egotistical, it's literally true, because there's nothing but God. So everything and everyone is God, and we're just aspects of God. So God, like, fractured God's self and created all these little aspects that could all have individual experiences, but we're all God experiencing God's self in a sense.
I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
now they're going to throw in the aliens.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you heard the government's going to admit
yeah.
that there is, and that'll be interesting, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to open up the other universes, and they're going to open the secret up. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. They've already kind of they've hinted at it, and they've shown some films and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see when that all comes out. But yeah, we're all it's just all incredible. It's all, again, as I said, it's all consciousness. So you can argue whether a pen is conscious or not, but it is consciousness. It's because everything exists as consciousness. Everything exists as made up of this. It's not material. It's kind of, like I said, it's projected here. It's kind of a hologram.
Let me ask you this, and this is a little, me, left of south. Um, do you believe, and we have multi universes, short of Earth and aliens, do you believe that we have other human beings elsewhere?
Other human beings. That's a good question. From what I understand, the universe says are many more than we can even imagine.
Yeah.
So with our little brains, we think there's a universe, and now we're being told there's multiple universes. And I've been told that when people choose to reincarnate, whatever that word actually means, that you can come back to Earth, but there are other places that you can go to. So my personal thing is, like, that's beyond my ability to grasp. I think I don't, I'm not, I don't think about all the other universes at this point. I just think about, like,
Yeah, this one.
this life and what's going to happen. When I leave this life, if I can understand that, that's all I need for right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, 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 not at all. It's fun to speculate about stuff like that, but The thing is, I sometimes, and I'm not saying that you do, but sometimes people get caught up with, okay, where do I go after I reincarnate the next time? I'm like, we need to really be focusing on this life right now and understanding where we're going immediately after. And then, we might choose to stay in the heavenly realms, or we might choose to go up. People, how many levels are there? Are there seven, or are there infinite? And like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't go that far because
Yeah,
I'm just interested when I get over to the other place, seeing Noah, my dad, reconnecting with those souls,
yeah,
and go from there.
yeah. Exactly. That's the way I look at it. It's like, what's that next stop? What am I supposed to be accomplishing while I'm here? And whether I exist for another billion years and have billions of more lives. I mean, I don't know at this point.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my homework done
Yeah,
while
yeah,
I'm here.
exactly.
Well, while we're wrapping up, I just want you. I can't talk right now. I'm getting confused, dry mouth. Tell them where they can find you. Oh, and are you going to have another book? I'd like to see another book.
Yeah. Well, um, where I am right now is my just tell everybody where I am. My website's Grief to Growth, so it's grief the number two growth.com. From there, you can find my book. You can find my podcast. The book is Grief to Growth. My podcast is also Grief to Growth. It's also my YouTube channel, so you can find everything there. I am working on a course right now, so that's probably going to take the next 3 or 4 months to put together a course to help people understand death and what it means and why we shouldn't be fearful of it. So that's my next project that should be coming out soon. I'm working on a series of guided meditations. Those are on my website.
Cool.
And in terms of another book, someday, but that's probably going to be a little while because I've got all this other stuff going on. So the big thing I want to do right now is I really want to get this course done because I really want to be able to reach more people with that as opposed to just doing the one-on-one work. So
Yeah,
that's my next big project.
excellent. I don't see how you do it all.
Yeah, well, it's a lot. So
I mean, could you have ever imagined? Seriously.
no, I never could have imagined. Plus, you mentioned earlier, my wife and I do own it. The main company that we have, our hair care company. So, and she's back at work full time, so I'm running that right now. So, yeah, there'll probably be a couple more books at some point, but it's going to be a little while.
And let me tell you, I have bought my hair's cray cray. I have bought the hair conditioner, which actually smells wonderful, and it did great on my hair, and I need to buy some more. Um, Look, I was down to the bottom and adding water to make it last longer. It is wonderful.
Thank you, thank you. I
And,
think your hair
and
looks great, by the way.
my hair, oh, thank you.
Yeah,
It's gotten too long.
but yeah. So yeah, I appreciate that, and if you need more product, let me know.
Yeah, I'm about to get some
Yeah.
because I was getting stingy with it. And they sent I had some rose oil. I think it was rose oil, rose water. Smells wonderful.
Mhm.
I mean, the product is just wonderful. I can't say more about it. It's isn't it all natural pretty much with just a
Uh,
little bit.
some of our products are all natural. They're really more I would call salon grade.
Okay, song
We
grade.
really formulate them for textured hair and for for curly hair. So that's what they're really formulated for. But if anybody's interested in the products, our website is Treasured Locks. It's treasured with a D locks.com.
And yeah, I just want to say I can personally say it's great.
Yeah, thank you, thank you,
So anyway, I'm asking all of you, please go Grief to Growth, subscribe, like, share.
thank you. I appreciate that,
I told you he was great. Thank you so much, Brian, for coming. You just don't know.
Dana. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
You have been a great source of information. I know they all appreciate it. I more than appreciate it, and I adore you and Tawana so much.
Well, thanks. I'll let her know you said hi, and I'll be happy to come back anytime you want me.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Bye bye. Well, that was Brian Smith. I hope you all enjoyed him as much as I did having him on. I was going to let you guys ask questions, but I kept him way longer than I probably should have. Did you enjoy him? I hope you did. I don't know who's still on. Hey, Marzi. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Shadra. Hey, Tammy. Oh, you did like him good. He's a jewel. And he's handsome. I wish, I don't know if they would, but I wish Adam or Kempire or somebody would bring him on. He's just great. But I know it's a different genre. Yeah, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. I wanted to tell you. Oh, thank you, Miriam. I wanted to tell you. I don't know if anybody wants to come up for a minute, but I'm about to end this. I wanted to tell you the ultimate um, amount of money that we raised for the Bronx butterfly wall was $243. $243. I think Layla donated 788, and Jenny donated 40 Canadian, which I forgot what it transitioned to USA. Marcy donated. Kempire donated. I donated. Jesse Bear donated. So Jenny donated. I've got brain damage. Kim Taylor donated. Did I forget anybody? I don't think I did. Anyway, $243 for the wall, the kids' butterfly wall in the Bronx. It's been transferred to Vintage. She's getting all the supplies. I think that's going to be so cool. She's going to take pictures and everything and make it some video to us. I don't think they're going to do it till Saturday. You know, I didn't ask if he has a brother, Miriam. Isn't he nice looking? And eloquent, knowledgeable. I hope I interviewed him okay. He did great. And I didn't even ask him if it was okay to keep him this long. I just kept going. I just kept going. I did. I should have probably blown up the screen. Yes, I did keep going, didn't I? Yes, he did. Didn't you like him, Jenny? His book is good. Grief to Growth. Please like and subscribe to his channel. He has so many interviews on there. A lot of interviews and NDEs and people that he has talked to. I mean, it's like you can get caught up watching and watching and watching. Like going down the rabbit hole. I've caught myself doing that. Well, I love you all so much. I'm so happy that you were here. Please like, share, subscribe. The last time I looked, my channel was up to 215. Let me tell you, Tell Tisa gave me a shout out on her channel, and people came over here and subscribed. They were sweethearts. They did. I like her. She's got good energy. So you can go over and look at Tell Tisa. And if you like her, subscribe. She is beautiful. She's an actress and a model, and she does tarot cards. She's doing readings online. Some of them full readings. Anyway, yeah, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Oh, and I do want to do. I don't know how much the 35 questions is going to go. I'm having trouble finding guys. We might have to delay that a hot minute. But I would really like to do a case on here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you all want to work on a case on here? It could be a cold case. We could talk about a recent case, but a cold case might be more fun that we could pick apart. We could pick apart one that's not as well known, or we could pick apart a case that is known. I was going to throw it out to all of you and see what you'd like to do. What would you like to do? Less known or more known? If you put it in the chat or comment below if you would like to work for us to look at a cold case and work on it and try to use our gut and our intuition to pick it apart to see if we could help figure out a cold case. More known. If it's more known, I was thinking about John Benet Ramsey, but I want to, you guys are butterflies in here. I want you to. I think my daughter's singing to my dog. I want you to have a voice in this. Think about it and drop it in the comments. And we will have a cold case night. What do you think? I'm interested in doing that. I'd like to use my mind. And, if there's nothing worse than having cold cases, especially if it deals with a mom or a young woman or a kid. A cold case sitting up on a shelf that hasn't been solved, and a family does not get any resolution or peace. That breaks my heart. Genuinely. So as much as we might enjoy doing it, I would like for us to seriously focus on it and see if we could be of any use. Yeah? Think about it. Let me know. What do you think? What do you think? Anyway, we're going to wrap this thing up. Let me know in the comments. If you're new, make a comment below. Let's have some interaction. I don't have a community page yet. I have to get my subscriber count up before YouTube will give me a community page. Yeah. But I love hearing from you. I definitely will write you back. My goal is to get to 250 subscribers. Yeah, I'd be happy with more. But to 250 subscribers by the end of June. And I will go on Zoom and do guided meditations with you, or do hypnosis with some people, or maybe something else as my gift. Of course, once I get higher, I'm going to give away some Beachbody on Demand too. Maybe some other things. Do some giveaways as my humble thank you. Because I truly do love and adore you all. I really do. I appreciate that you even come and listen to me. But thank you so much for coming today and giving your love and support to hear Brian, because I love and respect him. I appreciate that he came. I hope you go to his channel and check out some of his videos. Sorry for the doors. We've got people running in and out of here tonight. Oh, thank you so much, Miriam. But yeah, look him up. He is great. And I will always love, support, and lift up good humans. I will. And if you guys ever get in a place where you need support, I'm here. Or you can DM me on Instagram. You can. I genuinely mean that. But I hope you all have a rest of your weekend or week is great. And I will see you on Saturday. Mwah! And remember, your vibe attracts your tribe. See you Saturday night, guys. Love you and girls. Mwah. By Marzi, by Shadra, by Miriam, by Jenny. La la la. Shadra, Jenny, Vintage, and everybody. Anyway, I will see you later. Like, share, and subscribe, and we are out. I appreciate you so much. Where is my outro? And we're out. Thank you for coming to Dear Dana. Bye.